Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the MLB DFS Slurve video here on YouTube. It is really early on Thursday morning, August 13, 2020. We are, of course, talking baseball, DFS, main slate action, both FanDuel and DraftKings. Going to be diving into the FanDuel app here, talking about some pricing specific to FanDuel. But again, a lot of this always applies over at DraftKings if you're playing there. Now, keep in mind, we are talking about a very small slate today. I'm doing this video, putting it out very early because the slate kicks off, the main slate at 4:05 p.m. And with that said, we're only talking about 5 total games. So kind of an ugly small slate here. My opinion, my advice to you guys is just to take it easy. I'll only be playing a little bit here. I do play every single day. I want to get you guys a video here because we've committed to that and we're going to continue to do that. But in general, be careful on this slate. There's going to be a ton of ownership dedicated to just a couple of guys. You're talking guys that could approach 50-60% in terms of ownership, especially some value guys. Some of the pitchers are going to get that high. So it's going to be really hard to win this slate or do anything of significance on this slate without taking some serious risk and being really different. A boom or bust approach is pretty much the only way you're going to be able to differentiate yourself on this slate and maybe do some damage. Of course, this is No Huddle Fantasy Sports. Welcome back to the channel. As always, thank you for finding this channel, clicking on these videos. Please take a moment to make sure you are subscribed to the channel. It's the easiest way to help support this small channel here. We continue to grow. We continue to put out content. Last night was great. I mean, stacked Tampa Bay absolutely went off. Stacked Minnesota, I mentioned them in the video. They went off. I had a combination of both Tampa Bay and Minnesota in a lineup. Did really well, especially going with Greinke, who, of course, was really highly owned, but you still had to go there. He put up a nice score there in Houston, pitching against San Francisco. So let's keep this rolling. We've had a couple of good weeks here. Let's talk Slurve video here. We're going to quickly cover the slate. Again, very small slate here, 5 total games. What are we looking at? Well, let's dive into a specific contest here. You can see 4:05, so keep in mind, we only have a few hours until the first game here. That's Baltimore at Philadelphia at 4:05, and then games just kind of every half hour after that. So in terms of pitching, I mean, you can go Yu Darvish. He's the most expensive pitcher on the slate. He's pitching at home. He's pitching against Milwaukee, who hasn't been able to hit right-handers. We attacked Milwaukee either last night or the night before because of their high strikeout rate to right-handers. You could go Yu Darvish certainly here, but just keep in mind everybody's going to go Yu Darvish, especially if you're playing cash games. I mean, it's tough. He's putting up 50 points pretty regularly over the last 2 starts against really bad teams. I'd argue Milwaukee is more of the team you see in the first game, right? Of course, he played them at home, but Pittsburgh and Kansas City have nothing in terms of a lineup. So I'm going to be avoiding him. I mean, I'm just going to skip through that just because, again, the only way you're going to differentiate on this lineup, 5-game slate, is you got to take some risk here. And so a couple of guys I'd consider here. I think my number one guy is going to be the second guy here, Tyler Glasnow, pitching on the road in Boston, $8,800. Pretty expensive for that scenario. Pretty expensive considering he's a 5.56 ERA with bad starts. I mean, he's pitched at most 4.2 innings against Baltimore. You're looking at 36, 23, and 11, 4 earned runs, 2 earned runs. He's getting actually progressively worse. Now, my argument would be he played New York. New York, obviously one of the better teams in the AL. Loaded. This was before injuries, loaded with firepower. So you kind of maybe give him a pass here, but this isn't about giving him a pass. This is about trying to be different and taking some risk, calculated risk. And the calculated risk here is this guy strikes people out at a rate like no one else. He has some of the most filthy pitches in baseball. I followed him a lot in his minor leagues. Of course, I'm a Pirates fan, so I saw him pitch in Pittsburgh. Dude has like a 35+% strikeout rate. I think they even mentioned that here so far in 2020. He can rack them up. And if we go back, oh, by the way, I'm going to be using Daily Fantasy Nerd. I mentioned them a lot, but for this small slate, I've broken it down a little bit, but there's really not a ton to break down. But if you go back to last season, I mean, you're looking at game strikeouts of 9, 5, 11, 7. He's pitched multiple times against Boston, including a 51 FanDuel performance in Boston playing on the road last year. Arguably a better Boston team where he had 9 strikeouts across 6.2 innings, only gave up a couple of runs. So the issue, though, with him, and it has been for his entire career, whether you're talking minor leagues or playing in Pittsburgh, He has filthy pitches, but if he's not on, he's going to walk a lot of guys, and that's where he gives up a lot of damage. So, again, you're taking a lot of risks there. He walks a couple of guys, you hit a home run, you're down 3 or 4 runs, just like that, and he's out of the game. But if he can continue to keep that 35% strikeout rate going, if he can go 5 or 6 innings here, $8,800, get 6 or 7 strikeouts, maybe that lineup, given it's a day game, it's the end of the series, maybe it's a weaker lineup, maybe they rest some players. Who knows? But Tyler Glasnow's my guy. Just taking that risk here. Hopefully I can get a ton of strikeouts. I'm not expecting him not to get damaged, but just trying to be here. And I think they're going to get the win, by the way. I know they are playing on the road, but Kyle Hart, left-hander, good story. I'll talk about him in a minute. I think Tampa Bay gets some support here for Tyler Glasnow so he can get that W, hopefully a quality start. And he just basically hopefully doesn't get blown up. Other ways you can go here, the guys right underneath him. Jake Arrieta, I'm not a big fan of him generally. I don't think he's that good, to be honest with you. But we're talking, 10 total pitchers here to pick from. He had a good start playing at home versus Atlanta. He's playing at home versus a weaker team in Baltimore, 46 points. He had 6 strikeouts against Atlanta in his last start. He's not a huge strikeout guy, a guy I'm pretty familiar with. He's having a good season. He's a guy that usually, induces contact, gets out of games, gets out of binds because of it, gets ground balls, goes 5 or 6 innings. He's in a good spot at $8,300. He doesn't have a ton of upside in my opinion, but against Baltimore, who knows? They strike out at a good rate, a good clip versus right-handers. They don't have a ton of anything in that lineup. I mean, they've gone off. They went off last night, so it's not the most appealing play here in Jake Arrieta, but certainly probably a more safer play than Tyler Glasnow, especially considering you save $500. DeSclafani, my apologies. Another pitcher pitching at home. So the benefit of Arrieta and DeSclafani is you have pitchers pitching at home, whereas Glasnow's on the road. This is basically a play off the lineup. So he has pitched well. He hasn't given up an earned run yet this year. Had 6 strikeouts playing against Milwaukee. Talk about that strikeout rate for Milwaukee. Ridiculously high. You see this guy striking about 6 times, 46 points in his last start. Quality start, 6 innings, got the W, only gave up a couple of hits, 1 walk. Playing against Detroit, another weak lineup, only had 2 strikeouts. That's what I fear. I think that's really more in line with what this guy is. But again, this is more of a playoff of the Pittsburgh Pirates lineup. They have just been atrocious against everybody, which is crazy because I'm going to mention how some of those guys are value plays. I just don't know when and if they're going to start hitting. You have Josh Bell, who's typically dangerous, not doing much. Brian Reynolds, another lefty. Left-handed bats here are obviously DeSclafani's weakness. Those guys have not been hitting. Frazier has probably been their best, most consistent bat. He's not hitting well. There's just nobody in that lineup. And on top of that, I don't know if they're doing it on purpose, but their lineup should include at 2, 3, 4. In my opinion, it should go Frazier, Bell. Actually, it should lead off 1 with Frazier, 2 with Reynolds. That's another lefty. 3 with Bell, 4 with Moran. So you just face 4 lefties to start the game. Your best hitters, at least off of career numbers, they just don't do that. They're going to split all those guys up. It's just going to be a weak lineup. So DeSclafani in a good spot, only $7,100. He could go 5 or 6 innings, possibly not even give up a run. And that's really it for pitchers. I mean, some of these other guys are just, you don't even know who they are, to be honest with you. Don't like Trevor Williams, don't like Anderson. Eshelman and Hart are the guys you don't really have much information on. So Glasnow, Arrieta, DeSclafani, that's the order of guys I'll be going with. So talking about, I guess we could stick with pitchers. Where can you stack? I'm going right back to Tampa Bay tonight. They probably are going to be highly owned. Who isn't going to be highly owned tonight? They're playing Kyle Hart in Boston. A lefty, so again, you're kind of getting a little bit different here. My favorite bats on the Tampa Bay Rays are left-handed bats, so they're kind of getting eliminated here, but I'm not too worried about that. Kyle Hart here it's a good story. I think he's like a 27, 28-year-old getting his first big league appearance here for Boston, has been in the minor leagues forever. He's a soft-throwing lefty, nothing special about him. I've read articles on him. Basically, he just somehow gets outs. He's kind of like a poor man's left-hander Arrieta, Trevor Williams, just a guy that just somehow induces outs. Now, that's in the minor league, so we'll see what happens here. If you're going to induce contact constantly and hopefully get out of games in Boston, you've got big things coming your way. And I think Tampa Bay is a good stack here. Now, in terms of what we're looking at, in terms of odds, in what's projected right now, Philadelphia is number 1 at 5.47, Tampa Bay number 2 at 5.25 projected runs. So they're high on the board. They're above 5 runs projected for Tampa Bay. I like Tampa Bay specifically. If you want to talk bats, you could go a number of ways here. I guess if you want to be different, hopefully people. I thought like Bryce Harper would be low on left last night, but he was like 40% in some contests. That's for another day. So I don't know, but Choi here, $2,700. He's a switch hitter. You could go low. I probably won't play low because he is that left on left. Diaz here, hitting third. He's listed at 1, but he's been hitting third for them constantly. $2,600, really cheap price on him. Let me see who else we got here. You can go Austin Meadows. He's a great player. I would probably still play him a part of this stack. Renfroe is probably the biggest guy you want to play out of this lineup. Hunter Renfroe, just a guy that actually mashes lefties. So he's probably my favorite bat overall on the slate. But those are kind of the guys I'm looking at specifically. Let me see if I have anybody else listed here. You go Jose Martinez. I think he's $2,900. He's got that right on left split going. They've batted Michael Roseau, if I pronounce it right, high in the order, sometimes leading off right on left. He's a second baseman for them. So you have a bunch of different options here. Just see how this lineup comes out. And obviously we don't have lineups right now, so I'm kind of going off of what we've seen so far this year. But I do like Tampa Bay again tonight as my number 1 stack. Another guy I'm looking to attack tonight is actually Trevor Williams. So I'm a Pittsburgh guy, but Trevor Williams, I guess you could say he's getting better every single start. He's another guy, doesn't strike anybody out, induces contact. He had some good stretches, especially in 2018, where he had several months of being one of the better pitchers in baseball in terms of runs given up and ERA and everything. But this guy he just is I don't know. There's just nothing appealing about him. I've seen him get absolutely destroyed. And if you're talking about a team that's not listed as one of the top Vegas projected teams, no, they are. I mean, they're third. 5.13 runs projected for Cincinnati playing at home tonight. They could put up a crooked number versus Trevor Williams. Now, I've clicked on him, and if we go back to last season, he's had some good starts against them. In fact, every start, he started 4 times against them, most of them at home. Gave up, let's see, his worst start was to start the second start of the season. He only gave up 3 runs, but only lasted 6 innings, 7 hits, bunch of hits against him. 34, 37, 22, and 46. So he has pitched well against them. I think Cincinnati's a little bit better this year. They've got a little bit more going on. I think they believe a little bit more in themselves this year. So I do like them. I'm not saying this is the best stack in the world, but if you're trying to be different, I hopefully think Cincinnati won't be as highly owned. But some of the bats you want to go with, lefties are his obvious weakness. He's a right-handed pitcher, so Joey Votto stands out. Winker is another lefty that they typically employ in their lineup early, and by early I mean higher in the lineup. Let's see what else we got here. You could go with you definitely can go with some of their righties, and I definitely recommend that. But like Nick Castellanos, Suarez, their third baseman, all these guys are outside of Castellanos, $4,000 for him. Everyone else is a pretty good value. Let me pull some of these guys up so you can actually see them, and I'm not just talking and not doing anything. Suarez here, third baseman. I think Joey Votto has taken Williams' yard, so you have that little bit of a matchup there. But feel free, in my opinion, stack Cincinnati here. A home team. Cincinnati favors bats more than most NL stadiums. So you can certainly have that advantage for bats, and that should hurt Trevor Williams. On the flip side is you could also play Trevor Williams. So I'm not saying any of these plays are necessarily my favorite, but I do like them specifically. So those are really the 2 big stacks. Of course, if you want to stack Philadelphia, you certainly can. They're playing Eshelman. There's not very much on him. I went back, pretty bad numbers. If you go back for his career, he's only pitched about 40 total innings in Major League Baseball for his career. Let me clear this out for you. If we go to Eshelman here, I feel like I've already spent way too much time on this 5-game slate, but not good numbers. 587 xFIP to lefties, 566 to righties, so just really, really bad. This year he's pitched, you can see, decently. He's given up 3 earned runs across 7 innings. So that will qualify, I guess, as a quality start in total. No strikeout rate, absolutely no strikeout rate. 12% to lefties, 14% to right. Anything under 15% is bad. And I mean, if you're approaching 10, that means but 90% of people are putting the ball in play against you. That's just not good at all. Anything else we could look at for him? His fly ball rate, 35%, 44% to righties. Hard hit at a rate of 37 to left, 36 to right. And then his home runs per 9, you're looking at 255 to lefties, 316 to righties. But again, there's nothing on this guy. We're talking 40 innings that I focused on there. So he could turn out to be the best pitcher in baseball for all we know. I'm going to take that as a no. Philadelphia playing at home. You don't like to take stacks too many times at home just because I mentioned that ninth inning, you don't necessarily get that W. And they're projected to win this game sure-handedly. So I mean, you're looking at basically one less inning of at-bats for these guys. I think if I'm going to stack them, which I seriously might, I don't think I'm going to play Harper. I'm just going to try to be different here. And if you go with, wow, there's actually only 4 games on this slate. What game? Sorry, guys. Baltimore, Philly, we have that. Tampa Bay, Boston, Pitt, Cincinnati, Milwaukee. Oh, so the 9:40 Los Angeles Dodgers game is not. So on the DraftKings slate, you have all 5 games. On FanDuel here, you're actually only talking about 4 games. So there's less games, even less likely. I like this as a. But of course, you have Real Mewtwo, you have Hoskins, Bryce Harper. I'm gonna pull up their lineup, or what's projected at least. Where you could go is you could go Didi, Segura, Bruce, and Kingerly. If that's your 5, 6, 7, 8, that's a way to kind of differentiate. Jay Bruce and Didi are certainly guys that can put the ball out of the park. Segura has he's pitched. He's he played well last night. He was a part of that stack that we talked about. 9.2, had a hit, scored a run, got a walk, and then Kingerly, who I believe is, we might have to get different here. Sorry, it is really early. $2,100 for Kingley. So you can kind of go to the bottom of the order there and maybe get something out of that. But I mean, man, if you're not getting it, if they're going to win the game, you're not going to get bats in the 9th inning, and you're going to go to the bottom of the order. You're almost guaranteeing that somebody like Kingerly might only get 3 at bats, 4 if they're really having a great game and putting up a lot of runs. Which case it's probably the top of the order that's doing that. So, again, really risky here to go with them. But those are my thoughts on stacks. If you guys have any opinion, if I'm missing anything, there's nothing that stands out for me. Again, we're talking 4 games on FanDuel, so where can you really go? You got to be different here. You might not even want to stack. You might just want to flip players here. Renfroe is my favorite player. I mentioned him. Probably going to be highly owned. $2,800, a guy playing in Boston who's always just absolutely monster against left-handed pitching, has a ridiculous ISO. See if I can bring it up here for you. I have him right now at a WOBA 370 versus lefties, 297, almost a 300 ISO. So really good price on him at $2,800. Outfielder for Tampa Bay, probably my favorite player in general. Chris Bryant, if you want to, actually that's an interesting, I feel like I'm jumping around a lot here. There's no lines yet on this Chicago Cubs Milwaukee game for some reason, but Chris Bryant, a guy that has not been hitting well, $3,800. You could certainly fit him on this slate. There's no reason. He's hitting well lately. He's had a hit in his last 2 games, hit a home run. He's in a good spot. But a 301 ISO, 434 WOBA to lefties. So it's hitting the ball well. We talked about Bryce Harper. He's going to be ridiculous. He was 40% last night. Imagine what he's going to be tonight. Javier Baez, guy that's always, again, you're talking about hitting lefties. He can do that. Talked about Jay Bruce, bottom of that lineup. He should be in today. It's towards the end of this game. Jay Bruce in a good spot, $2,900. Just some of my favorite random plays here. And then I talked about the Pirates. I don't think you need to save money, but Josh Bell was stupid cheap at $2,800. Frazier continues to be really cheap, hitting atop of that order. Brian Reynolds. Again, these are just ways to be different. You can take a chance here, see what happens, and that's really it. Talking a 4-game slate on FanDuel, which makes it even more ugly. 5-game slate with the Los Angeles Dodgers game being included on DraftKings. I hope you guys enjoy these videos. I hope that they are helpful. Of course, if you're new here, simply haven't done so, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. We publish content every single day here at No Huddle Fantasy Sports related to MLB, baseball, DFS. Really enjoy the sport, really enjoy breaking down the numbers. We publish guides, publish full in-depth videos on Wednesdays and Fridays, sometimes even on the weekend. So all good information. We're doing it just for you guys. We're doing it for ourselves. We're doing it for everyone that enjoys DFS baseball. Hope you guys enjoy it. Please make sure you give this video a like, share this video, help this channel grow. Let me know down in the comments if I've missed anything, if you're going to even be playing the slate. But in general, 4:05 is the first game of this slate, so be ready. We are only a few hours away from that, even though we're really early on Thursday morning. Again, this is the MLB DFS Slurve video here on No Huddle Fantasy Sports. Thank you, as always, for tuning in, and I will catch you in the next video.